Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson, joined as always by Brian. And if you are so inclined, please leave a 4 or 5 star review so as to get people to discover this show because we are doing something really wacky this month. So, of all months, this is it. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Please click on the bell icon for notifications. Brian, you have done something extraordinary this month. You have combined Moonlighting and Miami Vice, two of the most hit shows of the 1980s, and we are going to be discussing the pilots of those respective shows, plus another episode of Moonlighting, which relates to Murder on the Orient Express, which relates to The Right Match, which features the Orient Express versus the Rockers from Miami, Florida. Brian, the weed was talking, as you said earlier.
Yeah, unintentionally. I mean, I'm smoking some cheap weed stuff right now, but you put some good stuff on top, it makes it decent. But I guess subconsciously, because originally this was not supposed to have a right match attached to it. But then, you know what I mean? So suddenly I was just thinking, like, what famous event came from Miami and from my childhood? Obviously, the first one I thought of was Royal Rumble 91. That's where Warrior lost the title. But obviously, that opener with the Rockers against the Orient Express, and I was like, Orient Express. Didn't I just text that to Jerome earlier? I don't know. Somehow it made it into my subconscious, and now we added the right match to it. We'll talk about it at the end, but it's a great tag match. I think it's like a 15-minute like nonstop classic.
Almost
Uh,
20
you know,
minute, dude.
Almost 20. Wow, longer than I don't know. It just kind of feels shorter because they're going so fast, especially at the beginning. But we'll get to that.
It's more of an NWA title type
I
match.
know. I noticed that too. Crockett, hello, Crockett era. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But we're gonna always every episode this month we're gonna start with Moonlighting. It's more the lighthearted tone, and I didn't realize this was more of a murder mystery thing, so I'm more intrigued now to jump into this series, especially with the length of the series. I thought it was a bit longer than I thought for 5 seasons, but the first 2 seasons are relatively short. So, and I just signed up for Hulu again, so I'm pretty much jumping into the series. Thanks to you, Jerome, I guess, because of your suggestion. And yeah, we'll kind of talk about that. But
It gets bad, but you're gonna have a hell of a lot of fun with
same thing
the
with
first
Miami
two
Vice.
seasons.
Same thing with Miami Vice, and we'll get some reasons for both, and they both occur around the same time. But the reason Bruce Willis got this gig anyway is because he had that guest role on Miami Vice like 6 or 7 months prior, landed this gig. And originally, I was going to watch this on the archives, quote unquote, because I'm a pirate. But I realized the one I was watching was like a VHS rip. And then I read that there were some issues with the music rights, correct? So I was like kind of worried that like I wasn't going to get the full version because I was worried that the VHS released in the 90s was not going to have the full copyright or whatever. So I jumped to the Hulu version, and from what I read, it's like the full thing. We got the full theme. There's no issues with the
Yes,
copyright.
that
So
is really important. That was why, if you remember, Moonlighting wasn't even on streaming for the longest time, and a lot of that
right,
had to do
and
with
the
the
same thing
music.
with Wonder Years, as I recall, for the same reason. So I wanted to make sure because I was, because I love the old VHS style. I was really to totally watch this on the VHS archives,
Well,
but
for Moonlighting, the one of the episodes that we're going to be watching next week, it is extremely important that we have the originals
right.
on
So I
streaming.
didn't want to, assume that the VHS released in the 90s was going to have the correct music. So, because we know that obviously there's changes between various formats and stuff. So I'm going to stick to the Hulu version. Even with the ads that I have, whatever, it's fine. It's part of the Spectrum plan. But yeah, it's a fun watch right off the bat. So this pilot is combined. I guess it was released as like a 90-minute pilot
I mean,
or
that's how they
release.
used to do it. They used to release, basically, they would do 2 hour pilots. I don't know. ER is probably another famous one where they had a 2 hour pilot episode and it eventually turned into a weekly series. And it's kind of what they did. That's back when TV was TV and they actually cared about
Yeah, it's
network
crazy.
shows. So that's what ends up happening. I mean, I mean, you basically, the vestiges of that are in whenever a streaming show or whenever a show premieres, they generally do like a 2 episode premiere. So that still very much exists even to this day, even if it's not referred to as a pilot. But you definitely get those same vibes. But the premise of the Moonlighting is Sybil Shepherd plays a model. I know, a real stretch, and she basically has her money taken from her, and she has all these businesses that are going to go under. One of them being a detective agency owned by Bruce Willis, and she goes to basically fire everyone, and Bruce Willis fights back. And I mean, basically, if you have to approach Moonlighting like it's a Looney Tunes cartoon, because that's very much. I mean, Bruce Willis is basically like a Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny throughout. and I think it's their chemistry is electric. It is a hot burn brother, because boy oh boy does it get ugly as we go through the 5 seasons, which we're only going to really be covering the some episodes from the first 3 seasons. But the chemistry is white hot right from the pilot, and it's just a really well executed kind of mystery as Sybil Shepherd slowly gets pulled into the world of detective agency and also Bruce Willis's hold as well. Bruce Willis with hair is quite a sight.
It's his actual hair, right? I don't want to be mean, but because
I believe that it is.
okay,
Yes.
because we know the Ted Danson stories, and we're trying to be nice about it, and we're men, so we know when we're getting to that age. So
The thing is, Bruce Willis is perfectly fine with bald. Like he actually
because
pulls
he
it off really
because he's
well.
got that stone cold aura about him. You know what I'm saying? The guy that can go bald and look like a badass can totally pull
He's
it
got the
off in
right
his
shaped
like
head. Is really
20s.
what you're saying.
That too is very round and it's very clean by Die Hard, especially Die Hard 3. But yeah, he's like doing the Cary Grant. I love it, but I wonder like how far can he go? Is he going to have a because so far in the 2 episodes I've seen of this show, like he's had no missteps in terms of like the wittiness. So I'm worried there's going to be some jokes that are not going to click, and you can't always bat 1,000, right? But I mean, from right now what I'm seeing, he's like batting 1,000. So like it's kind of like wow, like can he keep up this pace of like all this wittiness?
I
But I guess it's
mean,
up to the writers because the writers clearly know how to
yeah,
write this guy. So and Sybil Shepherd
yeah. I
is
mean, they
just
nailed it. I
beautiful.
mean, clearly the thing is, this is clear. This was clearly designed as a star showcase for Sybil Shepherd. Like there is no doubt in my mind when you watch, especially the pilot, this is meant to be her show, and you can already see by the time we get into the next episode that we watch that it is slowly becoming basically a duet. And I think it's really fascinating to think that Bruce Willis was basically defined as a TV star, and if it wasn't for some things going down, like some people turning Die Hard down, like maybe Bruce Willis, this is what he's destined for, doing the kind of TV like a Don Johnson who really never materialized. The movie career never really materialized, and he has done a lot of TV, but he really didn't cross over. But Bruce Willis very much does, and becomes a bigger star than Sybil Shepherd ever was. And Sybil Shepherd would go on to have a sitcom, which had some level of success, but it feels like Sybil Shepherd is more known for her reputation, and part of that is undoubtedly because she's a woman, and any woman with power is going to have be regarded in a certain way. But it's just unfortunate that when we think about Sybil Shepherd, we think of her behavior more than the show even.
Well, yeah, I've heard about her behavior and stuff. For me, it's like it's kind of interesting that she goes from movies to TV, and it's not really like people are saying it's like the end of her career because usually that's like a major down step, right? Especially in the '80s, but it doesn't really come off like that. It comes off more like it's like almost like she's got this kind of comeback, I would say, almost because like what she kind of like made that starring role, not starring, but like kind of a star in the making kind of performance, Taxi Driver, and kind of goes from there. I forget whether she does some other comedies and stuff. And then all of a sudden she's in Moonlighting, right? So it's kind of weird that she does this down step, but at the same time, it's like it kind of was like the perfect time for her career, and it kind of reflects like the model in the show reflects her kind of career. Obviously, very meta in a way because it's designed around her anyway.
Oh yeah,
And then I noticed right off the bat that like every time there's a close up in certain shots, she's got this special lighting that's like this glow, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But like, I wonder how much she had to get away with in the contract to get away with that because no one else is getting a close up that gets like glowed up like that. And that, by glow up, I mean like a glow up. It's like literally the screen is like glowing when she's on screen, and it's not just
it's
like me
called
saying
soft
that.
lighting, Brian. Soft lighting.
I know, but it's so rare to see, especially like in the days of Netflix lighting. You know what I'm saying? We complained about that before,
Oh
the
man,
basingness. So in comparison to that, it's kind of like wow, and especially it's TV. And these are 2 shows, by the way, that are shot very much more film than TV style. Especially with the finale, or not the finale, but the ending of this episode. It's like all of a sudden we're doing this high action stunt stuff on the top of a building with a bending
I do
ladder.
have to say that one of the biggest, obviously, Miami Vice has this very iconic moment with Phil Collins in the air tonight, but I do have to say the ending of Moonlighting is significantly better executed than the ending of Miami Vice. Like that is,
Well, there's a
if we're gonna
reason
compare.
for that because it's a to be continued ending. Because like I mentioned in the notes,
No,
there's
I'm
still.
talking about like the action scene in Miami Vice is not what started it.
Oh, I see what you're saying because the shootout was kind of quick, but we'll get to that. But in
It
comparison,
was a lot, but like the way
it
that they
was
climb
dramatic.
up, the use of the
Yeah,
ladders. I mean, this was just a very well executed ending, and I
I
mean,
love that
again,
close up of the rubber ladder bending because that's so like old school Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Love that
I
part.
mean, it's very much old Los Angeles too. Like this is not the Los Angeles that you would probably see in modern times. It's very much a mix of like this very business like Los Angeles and kind of the probably the seedier elements as well.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole, Los Angeles noir kind of feel. I'm totally digging that. So I love the concept. Um, I'm still kind of missing some info because you say that she does get the license or something. Because I was kind of
Now,
waiting on that. I was
I
like,
don't think she ever got. I mean, it's not a plot
oh,
point. It's not
okay,
a plot point.
I guess. But okay,
I mean, she
I
probably
guess
knows how to drive. She just chooses not to
I
drive.
guess they're just gonna use Bruce Willis's license as a pseudo, like, yeah, but yeah, because like the thing is, like, those other businesses, I wonder what other if she chose something other that day besides go to that business first. You know what I'm saying? Like how much of her
I mean,
life would
the implication is that she goes to the other businesses and just fires everyone. Maybe
except the
there's stuff on the.
detective agency? That's funny.
I mean,
Oh man.
Bruce Willis isn't working at any of those other agencies, so that probably makes a difference.
Yeah, that's the big difference, man. Because
I
he's a
mean, he's
talker.
a ball of charisma. Nobody
I
else is
do
probably
like the fact
charismatic enough.
that he admitted that like the only reason that he was there was to lose money, right? I guess that's what the manager told
I
him
mean,
specifically,
what I would say
which is
though,
great.
I
Which is
mean, and
great.
it's kind of bullshit, but like I do appreciate the fact that he's like, if you want me to make money, I'll make money. It's just I was told to lose money. Like his argument is pretty sad. I don't. Again, it might be total bullshit, but like there is some plausible deniability there.
I love it. I love it because I can see the swarminess and the squirminess of her business managers doing that to her. So total fun setup right there. I love
I
their
do have to
dynamic,
say the
obviously.
chef
So
destroying property at the beginning, like
you mentioned that, man.
I mean, it's infuriating, man. Like
I
look, it sucks to not get paid. That's still destruction of property.
I know, but I guess I don't know if it evened out worthy of the check that bounced because there's fees and all that stuff. So it was like six vases, I think. But yeah, let's say it's even. But it's pretty funny though, guys, because I guess she's not gonna have a chef now or
I
something.
mean,
But
he's literally a walking Italian stereotype. I mean, Miami
that too.
Vice certainly has it with the Latino stereotypes in a big way. But man, I mean, you just realize just how racist we all still were in the 80s.
Oh, believe me, you'll see that in Miami Vice as well. Even with all the Latino star power in that show,
And the not so Latino people who are played by white people as well. Can't forget that.
I got to make sure on that one because he comes back as a Hispanic character again. He becomes the Joe Pesci, like in Lethal Weapon. He becomes that character for Miami Vice, if you picture it. So if you can handle that, but that's only the comedy episode he's really in. You know what I'm saying? He's the
Oh my
comic relief.
god.
So yeah,
So
and
yeah,
he's got
the
glasses.
thing about Moonlighting is that it's about the repartee between Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. Like that's what the show is. And if you the plots I think are generally well executed. I think the writing is strong. I think the quality of the filming is good. But really it's about these two characters. And I think that part of the issue when you come with a TV show is that when they are so focused on the on two characters, I think that makes it a much harder sell. And I think that's the problem that Miami Vice is also going to have. Like you have these shows where there are ensembles and they can go forever and ever and ever. Like Dallas has 11 seasons worth, but that's because even though you had the stars, you also had the ensemble. It doesn't feel like Moonlighting or Miami Vice are really leaning into that. Like you definitely have other characters, certainly, but Alice Beasley really isn't an important focal point, save for a couple of episodes, one of which we did watch as part of this. And I know I had to pick a train episode, Brian. I just did.
I mean, I guess my love for Agatha Christie movies. Not necessarily the novel. I never read the novels, but I do enjoy my movies with Hercule Poirot and that detective dude. And I even
Going
watched
for
some of
those same
the
vibes here.
yeah, and I also watched that one of the new ones by what's his name? The new
Kenneth
the new
Branagh.
Kenneth
That
Branagh.
is the
Like he did a
version of that.
trilogy.
That is the version of Murder on the Orient Express that I've seen.
Wow, so I've seen the '70s one, and that's pretty crazy. So I guess it's the same ending, right? Spoiler alert: all eight of them were the murderer or whatever it was with a fucking single knife. So that's, you know what I mean? Like I expected that ending here. Spoiler alert: this is what, 30 years. We're gonna spoil this episode. The murder is an actual murder because I thought it was a fake. So right, like I thought the shoe was gonna drop at the end of this episode, and I was like, "Oh shit, he really got killed." That was my response. As soon as like they just revealed everything, I was like, "Wait a minute, so he's dead?" Because I mean, the whole setup is it's a murder train mystery. You know, it's fake or whatever, and this writer brings people
Right.
on,
Mr.
and
Pesto is supposed to go on this train ride
right,
while Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd are supposed to be doing their own thing, and then they get stuck on the train, and hijinks, of course, ensue.
right. And so my thinking was, if they're doing Murder on the Orient Express, like the twist is like he's probably not even there's, you know, they're gonna make it seem like there's a real dead body or something, and then all of a sudden the writer's dead, and I was like, okay, he's faking it. Like, how could there be a murder and no one's reacting? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like part of the plan, and then all of a sudden it plays out. It's like, oh shit, the dude's dead. So that was a really big like, wow. I thought this was like a setup, total 180 on me. I guess because I'm a cynic or something. I don't know. Maybe because I've seen the original, and the original has this dark ending to it. So if you've never seen Murder in the Express, I guess recommend both versions. I guess because it's got the same ending, but it's a great twist ending about revenge and just letting revenge get away with it, so to speak. But in this case, it's like I don't know. I guess the guy's in jail for 22 years, and that's the you mentioned the husband, and that's her husband in real life for 3 years. Wow,
Yes, it
what a
is.
pairing! What a pairing! What a pairing! And I mean that in a positive way because they're just quirky characters coming together, and I guess it only lasted 3 years, but yeah, that's a fun time. And she's also the voice of the teacher from Recess. That's the first thing I immediately was like, oh, she's the voice in the teacher of Recess. So put that
Yep.
together. But and then you mentioned that
Yep.
she's
Yep. Yep.
also the daughter of Coach. Season two,
On
I
one of the
believe.
very early episodes, I think it's
Yeah,
season one. It's a very
season
early
one.
episode
Wow.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
but
she's
she's very good, and I
yeah.
think she adds a lot as a supporting character, and she definitely gets even more important as the show goes on. And Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd can't stand each other, and there's a new character who I'm not a huge fan of, and I don't know that we'll necessarily address him very much in our little run here. But yeah, I think that a really strong pilot, and you also got to see like what the show looks like week to week for those first three seasons. I would say that the first season quality very much mimics what you saw in season one, episode five. So very good stuff, I would say, from Moon.
Yeah, I would say the pilot is like a 7.5 for me, and oh, 7.5, and then I really like the train episode because it just kind of tickled my mystery murder fancy. So 8 out of 10
I mean,
because
that is the
it
reason that I
fooled
chose.
me. It
I
yeah,
specifically picked.
I
I was
appreciate that
go.
because you know me well in my murder mystery stuff, I guess. And
I was going to pick one episode from season one, and it ended up being that one because
yeah,
of that.
fooled me
Yeah.
because that dude was really fucking dead, even though it looked fake. I mean, I don't know, man, because the dude was stabbed. So yeah, spoiler alert, but it looked fake, but
Yeah.
it was real. So
Yes, indeed. All right, let's talk about Miami Vice, a very notable pilot. I mean, this is probably one of the most famous pilots to ever exist. Not just because the show is executive produced by Michael Mann, but basically these are the MTV cops, right? They have their own fashion sense. They have
yeah,
a very
that was the memo.
style.
Apparently, the memo said my or MTV cops from I forget the president of NBC at the time or whoever
Yeah,
was in
I
charge of
mean they're
programming.
going for that vibe. Very sweaty, very horny. This show has it all, man.
Yeah, and I guess the style we gotta talk about first really quick is like this idea of pastel colors, right? And that was a mandate from Michael Mann himself. And once Michael Mann stopped being executive producer, his name was still on the show in seasons 3, 4, and 5. But once he left, Dick Wolf took over. The same Dick Wolf that is executive producer. Dick Wolf jokes all over the place and memes, Law and Order and all that,
You're
L.A.
telling
Law.
me, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
his shows look pretty dire these days. Not great, but still carrying NBC.
right. And in the '80s, he took over the show and changed the rule, and they went back to like natural looking colors, and that kind of like changed everything. And some of the music choices got to change, but that's kind of like where the show kind of fell off and the ratings fell off, and you know what I mean. So the idea is like I
This
watched
is
some.
another show that burned very, very hot. I mean, just like
Yeah,
Moonlighting,
too
it started
quick.
off white hot.
Yeah,
It's
and
really hard to maintain a show like
Edward
this.
James Olmos, man, I watched these interviews and he said that like he thought the show started too hot, and then instead of spreading storylines amongst the cast like that ensemble idea you were talking about, they kind of went away from that and just started focusing on Sonny Crockett more, even more so than Tubbs, and that's clear throughout the last 3 seasons. But the first two, I would say they're kind of like equal, and everyone was kind of getting their footing, and even Edward James almost had an interesting storyline here or there. You know what I'm saying? So definitely the first two
I think
seasons
it's a
are where it's at.
problem. I think it's a huge issue that this show is going to focus so much on Crockett because you can
Oh,
like
believe me,
even
dude, it gets worse, dude. I mean, I
I
don't
know
want to
there's
spoil
a
so
very
much.
there's an I know there's an amnesia storyline at some point down the road. So
Yeah,
I
because he's Burnett in his in the street, right? He's Burnett, and then he forgets and becomes oh, I'm Burnett, I'm a killer.
that
Yeah, he
is
gets away with murdering
it
people.
becomes a soap opera, and that's not what the
And then
show is.
he, at
Like
one point, he marries a famous rock musician. A week after or two that they met, and of course they don't get along at first, and then of course they're in love, and then of course his enemy shoots her after a concert, like 7 years before Selena happens in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus.
man, that's rough.
You know what I'm saying?
So I do have to say, so Jimmy Smits it has a cameo. The moment he mentioned his pregnant wife, I was like, well, he's dead. Like it was just
Oh, of course.
I thought it would be towards the end of the episode, but my God, like 5 minutes later, he's dead. He could not
I
believe
mean,
it.
it's not that he's dead. He's literally fried because of an explosion. I mean, Jesus Christ. The dummy goes flying in the air. And at first, the first time you watch it, it's kind of funny. The second time you watch it, it's kind of horrific. It's like,
It
oh
is
my
horrific.
God. Yeah. And then, of course, the tragic. I don't know the actress's name, but of course, every time they show the trope of the wife reacting to the cop's death, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
always gut wrenching. So that was, incredible scene. And then, of course, it leads to the other, Tubbs. You've realized that Tubbs isn't from New York because the episode starts in New York, and I guess they end up you realize that the Colombian that Crockett's following is Calderon, which is Tubbs is following. So he's been going back and forth between New York and Miami, just dealing all kinds of shit. And then they kind of join forces, and what's the trope I've talked about, Jerome? Whenever two superheroes team up or any kind of
They have to
superhero
fight
duo,
each other before they come together.
exactly, and yep, they
You
fight
get
each other.
that in spades right here. I mean, they
Yeah,
don't
not only
necessarily. I
that,
mean, they
a
don't
chase.
necessarily like fight. They chase each
And then they knock some blows on the boat, and that was kind of funny. And then Crockett's like, "Ah, shit, I went too far." And then he did the JBL where he just owned up and said, like, "Okay, Joey Styles, you got me. You're Stocky Balboa." You know what I'm saying? You've heard that story, but it's kind of that thing where
I have heard that story, but yeah, I
so
mean, Don
it's the
Johnson,
same thing.
like they're very much towing the line because again, we're talking about a network TV show, so they can't go all the way with Don Johnson being a piece of shit. So they always have to bring they always bring him back from the brink. I feel like if this show was on HBO like 15 years later, Don Johnson is just fully. I mean, basically, he becomes Colin Farrell in the movie version, which I know you don't like very much, but I really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, I kind of
It's
think of
very
what's that
different.
dude McNulty from The Wire. That's
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
where I see.
that's kind of where they're going, and Bugs
Yeah,
would be Tubbs.
yeah, yeah,
So,
essentially. But yeah, and he does go
but
over the
yeah,
line.
they're
But
not
it takes 4 seasons to
they're
do it.
towing a line here. And I
Yeah,
think this is a good pilot. I certainly think that there's a lot of mystery, like who's the rat, like who's the tattletale, who's the insider. So I appreciate that, and I think that that is well executed. The big reveal, the dad from Life Goes On, as I call him, and the, the fact that Crockett is ready to beat the shit out of him is pretty amusing.
I mean, I guess because he's heartbroken. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that was the whole like thing is like when I guess this trope with
Rightfully
partners.
so. Yeah, I mean,
I
absolutely, he
mean,
should be heartbroken.
partners and cops and partners. There's always that trope of like you killed my partner and like I'm gonna get you. Like that's a very prominent theme coming up, especially some of the episodes I've picked. So it totally like nails home here, especially since the dude was his ex partner. He retired, and when you retire as a cop, like you don't have much pension, right? You're this not much
And
retirement,
he has a child in a wheelchair.
right? And
They
so
might as well have called him Tiny Tim.
yeah, and they kind of repeat some of these tropes later on in future seasons with their characters, but this is the first time you see it, and of course he just feels like betrayed. But at the same time, you're like sympathizing with his partner, because you kind of see why the partner did it. You know what I'm saying? So when he was begging him, like, please don't turn me in, it was too late. I feel like if Crockett was there alone, he would have let him go. You know what I'm saying? But it was just too late because he was too by the book and he had everyone back him up. So it's kind of a tragic moment. But then it leads to the other big baddie, right? Calderon. And because of the system being fucked up, he gets away. But we do get the epic, dun 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 dun, dun moment.
I do appreciate how lazy the cops are in that scene. Just the wildly lazy.
Believe me, it kind of gets kind of weird with the timing in terms of like the cops coming in to save the day every time they're undercover. So that's going to get a little questionable in terms of timing later on. But in terms of this one, the ending, like you mentioned, it was 2-on-7, and they just got lucky that there was only a flesh wound for Tubbs, and they just nailed all of them. Calderon gets away. There was like a small chase in the darkness, which was good because there was a lot of shadows to play with, and he gets caught, and then he does the line where like, "Come on, you're gonna shoot me, cop?" Right? He does that whole thing about like, you got to do it by the book. You can't shoot me. And of course, he does it by the book, and he gets away, and he gets away at the end.
Yep.
So it sets up the two-parter later on, 2 episodes later. Calderon returned, but the thing is I think they didn't wait till the end of the season, worried that they might get cut short. If that makes sense, because you never know. This is a gamble kind of a show with the kind of budget they were putting on. So it's like we better end this storyline quick
Yeah, this show is
and
very
not let it
expensive.
hanging just in case we get canceled.
You can tell that they are shooting on location in Miami. That is not cheap at all.
No, it is not. And I think $1 million an episode was the word back. There's rumors about
Wow,
the
that's
budget per episode.
crazy. I mean,
I don't
that's
know if it's
wild.
1 million, maybe it's 500,000. It's around that kind of range, obviously, because of.
I mean,
I mean,
that's
if it's because they got to shut down traffic, right? And they got to rent buildings and get permits all over Miami. So it's it was expensive, and it made the money back for the first 2 seasons until once the ratings started dipping. That's when things started changing. But of course, this was
that's
like a pop
crazy though.
culture, yeah, pop culture. In terms of fashion, like
Yes.
I heard Versace. What according to the interviews is like Versace like found out they were using his stuff, and then by season 2, he gave them the stuff that was coming out the next spring, but they were wearing it in the fall prior to kind of show dudes what was coming out. And then it became like, let's go. We got to watch the show for like to see what the new fashion's coming out next spring, right? Like that kind of makes sense. And then of course, like the sunglasses. I think there was like a rise in like sales of the sunglasses. And then of course the whole
I mean,
style
of
of no
course.
shoes or no socks in the shoes is because I don't know if that's a Miami thing in general, but I guess Don Johnson just did it because it was hot as fuck in Miami. So he's like, if I'm wearing
Rightfully
this fucking
so.
suit, and then that's why he's like rolling up the sleeves. So that's kind of
His
became the
fashion is
iconic
not
look.
on point in this episode. I do want to point that out. That Don Johnson, he is in full Don Johnson mode in this first
Not
episode.
quite yet, not quite yet. But I want to point out that I don't know what's going on with the hair department in this series, but his hair slowly got worse from like season 2 onward. I don't know how. I think maybe they thought it looked cool because it looked hair metalish, but no, dude, it gets worse, dude. I don't know what it is, man, but Don Johnson's hair gets worse and worse. But Ricardo Tubbs always looks fly, I think, in the whole show. Even with the color changes, he still like pulls off that suit really well because he's so like thin. So yeah, and of course, I think Tubbs, Philip Michael Thomas, man, like this dude, I think is underrated. Very much in a Marty Jannetty kind of way, and we'll get to that. But like, I mean, this dude
Yes.
has to have a Jamaican accent, a street accent, a Hispanic accent, a smart cop accent. He's
I
got to
mean,
pull
I
that
want to
off.
point out to you that you said that there's a lot of pressure on Michael B. Johnson. I want to point out Jimmy Fox and Michael B. Johnson, both Academy Award winners. So just a reminder that that's the quality of actor that have played Tubbs since Philip Michael Thomas. Philip Michael
I
Thomas
know.
also is the first person to utter the term EGOT, by the way,
Wow. Okay. Cool. Because maybe he
because
saw it in the
he mentions wanting to be an EGOT winner, and
right.
he has
But
never
maybe he
even
saw
been
it in the
nominated.
future because he was part of the Psychic Network. I don't know if you know that, but he was, I guess, the sponsor of the Psychic Network or
I was
something.
reading about that. I was like, well, that's
So
really
that's
depressing.
yeah. Like what happens to Marty Jannetty's career, right? Like it's almost this parallel of Marty and Sean, man. And look, if I were to tell you in '85, like who would I thought would have had maybe a longer career, I would have told you Phil Michael Tom. Or yeah,
I
because
would have said Don Johnson because Don Johnson's white and America's
well,
racist.
that, but he just, I think he's Phil Michael Thomas is so much more well rounded in terms of this
I,
role, in
I don't
terms of the
disagree with you. I
skills.
think his
But
acting is way better.
but
But
man, it's just so crazy that he went to nothing after this, man. It sucks, man. But Don Johnson just got lucky and got Nash Bridges, and that kind of like cemented his future, I think, because that pretty
yep.
much gets you residuals for
And
the rest
you
of your
know
life.
he's been on a lot of stuff since he's been kind of aged into the grandfatherly roles that he's played in movies like Knives Out as well as Watchmen. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
The pilot's good. The action scene at the end of the pilot is not good. It's really poorly executed. And again, I know that it is a TV show, but like you put all that effort into this iconic needle drop. Like maybe this is one of the five best needle drops of all time because it's not just they're driving and the music's playing. He stops to make a phone call and the lyrics still jive with what's happening in the scene. Like that's actually what makes the needle drop great is how consistent it is for the whole 3 minutes and it actually works with the conversation. That's what makes it great.
yeah. And for the record, that song came out in 1981, and apparently it landed at like number 19 in the top 40. And when this got released again because of the pilot, it went to number one. So it's just all about timing. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? And it just kind of like it has to fit with the timing and the mood, and there's just it elevated it.
It
You know what I'm saying?
does. It really.
I mean,
I've
so
be,
much so that
I've
like
become very critical of needle drops in movies and shows. I think it's overdone. It's overplayed. This is maybe one. Again, this has to be top five because it's so perfect. It matches the scene. It matches the vibes, and it's just. It's that
trust me,
that shot of them in the car
this
is
show's full of them,
iconic.
man. The show is full. I think your list might change as you see some of these episodes because there are some incredible needle drops coming up. And Glenn Fry from the or Glenn Frey, I should say his name. He's from the Eagles. You know, you belong to the city. Da, 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 the saxophone. He wrote that specifically for the episode he appears in Miami Vice. So that tells you like how much of an influence this because all these songs ended up in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Vice City is obviously based on
Yes,
Miami Vice, and now we got Grand Theft Auto what 6 coming out and the most hyped
we
game
may
of like
never
all
see it.
time.
There's the meme about what has come out between Grand
I
Theft Auto
know.
5 and 6. So I just want to point out that Moonlighting also, I say top five because they also have an incredible needle drop that will be forthcoming next week. We'll be talking about two more episodes of Moonlighting and Miami Vice.
And now we move on to the Royal Rumble from Miami. See how I did that? And of course, I mentioned Sean and Marty, and this against the Orient Express. And every time I watch this, it just feels like they just had something to prove that night, right? Like because it felt like, okay, we got the Legion of Doom, and we got the Hart Foundation as champs. We want the Legion of Doom as champs. We need a transitional champ to get there. Where does that leave the Rockers, right? It leaves them like in the mid card again for another year. So it felt like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
we need to
awful.
like prove that we're worthy of these titles that they keep looking over on us, right? Because obviously the titles lead to more money and that kind of thing, and you're booked higher on the card and whatnot. So it just they went out there balls to the wall, and you know Orient Express
I
are
just want to
booking
point out
machines.
that they had another banger opener at WrestleMania 7 against Haku and the Barbarian of all teams, too.
That's true. And again, something to prove in the opener. And because you look at Shawn Michaels in this match at the Rumble, and it's like he's looking at the crowd like, "Come on, man! Like, give me the love that I need, right?" And it was almost as if he was begging for like a big push at that moment, and it kind of like blossomed into what we got at the end of the year with the turn. But in this case, like they're just
Oh,
going balls
yeah.
to the wall, and I
It's
mean,
it's unbelievable.
yeah,
It's
moonsaults.
this match feels like the NW. This feels like an NWA match more than a WWF tag match because WWF tag matches are very formulaic, and even a team like the Hart Foundation that I really like, it just like it's inevitable, and you do get some of the tropes here, but it's way better, and the heat segments are just so much more fluid. And again, the Orient Express are a good team. The thing is like people make fun of them because their song gets used for other teams, and they're kind of jobbers to the stars. They also had a match at WrestleMania 6 that is really weak, and I guess the rumor is Shawn and Marty were real hungover for it, so that's why that match isn't good. But this one is really good. This in terms of like opening matches in the history of the WWF, up until Brett and Owen at WrestleMania 10, this might be the best opener in the history of WWF pay per view.
Definitely. It's crazy because like the things they were doing in this match, I feel like get criticized today sometimes, right? Like I don't know, the
Well, I
whole
mean, the
super
problem
kick
is that
thing.
all the matches do it. Like, that's the issue. It's
I
not,
guess, but man, it's like they're doing all this modern shit in this match, the super kicks and stuff, and it looked like Sean kind of no cell falling off the top, but I don't know if that was just the
well,
timing,
I get it.
but
I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, but the issue isn't. I mean, they did get 20 minutes, but like immediately after this, I think there's a big boss man barbarian. So you're not going to get. You're getting something very different. I think the
right, and it's
biggest.
not every
I think
match. I get that. I get that
the
criticism too.
criticism of
So
modern wrestling is that it is every match, and that I think both companies kind of feel very samey in terms of how the matches are executed, and AEW especially has a problem where all the matches are way too goddamn. That's I think the bigger problem.
right, I agree on that too. But yeah,
But
this
this
is like
match,
a
I think this match at 20 minutes actually works out really well.
yeah, it's
Um,
like a classic that's kind of forgotten until
it's
recently.
very
I feel like
underrated.
the YouTube era kind of rediscovered it in terms of word of mouth.
I mean, Scott Keith gave this 4.25 stars, and I mean, he's definitely somebody who at some point definitely had a very good readership. So I would imagine that in terms of the internet wrestling fan, I'm sure that they've had some awareness of this. But I mean, this is readily available on YouTube, so people can check it out,
Yeah, and
and
I
never
found
read
it
it
on
again.
the playlist they released recently of the like I guess awesome tag matches or something like that or whatever, and it was
They
like
did put
yeah.
the entire Royal Rumble '91. That's how I watched this,
Oh,
and
okay. There's so many releases of this.
it
Yeah.
is excellent. This is one of the best matches in the it's one of the best WWF tag matches maybe ever. Because again, WWF tag matches are not great. Like the list of truly great WWF tag matches are it's a really short list. Like outside of with the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, and the SmackDown Six, it's pretty ugly.
I would agree. I don't watch the modern WWE, but last time I watched, I think I remember
I mean, the
the
Usos have
Wyatt
certainly
family
had
and the
their share of
Usos had
really
like a
good.
great 2 out of 3 falls
Yeah, the
match.
Usos have had their share of really good matches as well, but I mean, again, things just get lost so much more in this era.
And then really quick, Roddy Piper is on something, folks. Let's just say that.
He is a terrible commentator. He is
He's on
just the worst,
something and he really,
and
really wants
he
to
does
get
not
Saddam
bring out.
Hussein.
And Monsoon is on the way down at this point, and it's not good.
Well, I do give credit to Monsoon because I feel like he put the Orient Express more over than any other commentator, and he gave more
Yeah, I
credibility.
mean, I think he does a good job at
But
times of
that's
being
because he's a
probably
pro,
better
I
than
think, because he knows that like he
yes.
probably thinks this team has been known as a jobber team. They're going against the Rockers. The audience knows the Rockers are going to win, but how do we convince the audience that there's an equal standing?
Yep.
So he gives a lot of credibility to the team. So I got to give him credit for that. So
All right, Brian. So next week we are going to be continuing our conversation on both Miami Vice and Moonlighting. Brian, what Miami Vice episodes are we watching next week?
okay, so it's episodes 5 and 6. It's the return of Calderon, and like I said, they wanted to end the storyline quick, or do they? Wink, wink. But it's a two-parter, and it ends with this incredible. If you're a fan of needle drops, and if you're a fan of Tina Turner, my goodness, are you in for an incredible, incredible treat for that ending? So that's all I can say. And you mentioned Tubbs being horny. Yeah, Tubbs is being horny.
So we are going to be taking a look at episode 5, season 2, My Fair David, next week, and we will also be watching the season 2 finale, season 2, episode 18, Camille, with 2 very special guest stars. Brian, do not read the episode description; just watch the
Yeah,
episode.
I'm gonna go blind on everything on in terms of moonlighting because I think if you go blind on Miami Vice 2, you're gonna be some shocking like cameos. Like we didn't even mention the celebrity cameos coming up, but there's a lot. But yeah, you're gonna be shocked. So I
I
think both
also
of us
do.
going blind is
I
good.
also want to say that in 2 weeks, I debated whether or not we should wait till Christmas for one of the episodes, but I think it'll make sense. So
Christmas in May, who it
yeah,
fits. So yeah, I
I
get
mean
it.
I'm gonna be showing my I'm doing a Simpsons class for the summer, and we're going to be watching probably around the time we record that episode. We will be watching Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Oh, how classic! If any episode should be taught, though, I think it should be the Three-Eyed Fish, but because they kind of taught
Oh,
us that.
we'll get into that. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm on the right wavelength because I had a paper on that or something, and one of my classes back in the day is like part of an assignment, and it kind of fit the theme of that episode. So there you go.
All right. For Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.